Hey guys, it's me, Mr. 250, and welcome back to Umineko. Eva definitely showed some odd signs of... I don't know if the right word is crazy, but it definitely feels crazy. And he definitely seems to have figured out what the epitaph was referring to, the river. And I'm kind of curious what that is. It doesn't seem like the game's going to tell us for a while still, but maybe we can figure out a few clues from how she reacts. I'm sure they are, Eva. The voices in your head are telling you to go that way. My heart leapt. Because there, gaping wide, was an opened mouth in the eerie darkness. I'm gonna assume you probably went somewhere that you definitely should not have. When I strained my eyes peering into the darkness, I saw something that looked like a light switch. In addition, there was a switch with open and close written on it. Oh, good, it's the secret underground evil facility we keep under the island. Oh, yes. When I resolutely pushed the switch, rough lights like you'd find in a coal mine turned on sporadically, making a staircase that stretched underground come hazily into vision. It was creepy how it looked even more gloomy with the lights turned on. Other than the light switch, there was also a switch with open and close written on it. It would probably open or close this, but on the slight chance that the open part might be broken, I might be closed up in this creepy underground area for all eternity. So for the time being, I didn't touch the open-close switch. And as I readied my gun again, I slowly went down the stairs into the evil Temple of Doom that, just happens to be sitting under Grandfather's mansion. Because the ceiling was very high, it didn't feel cramped. On the contrary, it felt as though a cool breeze was blowing upwards. And that creepiness even felt like an aura. As I readied my gun and carefully stared forwards, I went down the stairs. The walls, the stairs, the lights, all of them were very old-fashioned. It's easy to suspect that this had been made at the same time that the mansion had been constructed on the island. There were cracks in the ceiling, and water clung to the walls, constantly dripping down. That water fell into a gutter that had been set up alongside the stairs, then quickly and silently flowed into the underground darkness, as though it was telling me to go faster. The staircase kept turning back on itself. I don't know how far down I've gone, but I think it's much deeper than one floor, and the rest of them are just wondering when Eva's going to finally get out of that bathroom. Wow, this is a lot more than I expected, and eventually a rough metal door showed itself. And there, characters had been written in a dark red paint. They had probably been written a long time ago. The 10th twilight, the journey shall end and you should reach the village of gold. My heart, which is already about to explode, jumped about even more as soon as I recognized those deep red characters. There's no mistake. This is the last stop. Father's golden land. I calmed my throbbing heart, somehow regained my composure and readied the gun again. But since in the end, I couldn't open the door with my gun held in both hands, I lowered the gun, carefully erased my breath and opened the door. A little more elegant than the entrance in. My first impression when I saw the room was that it might be related to one of the rooms in the mansion. That's right. It had exactly the same atmosphere about it as the sealed VIP room on the second floor. But this was underground, so there were no windows. There was only the solemn light of a grand chandelier. But even though it was dimly lit by the faint light, the quality of the interior was more than enough to take your breath away. A bed with a canopy, and a rocking chair that looked like it would be comfortable to sit in. an extravagant sofa and carpet. The room was like a dream every girl yearns for at least once. And yet, since it was an underground hidden room with no windows, how could you say it felt like it could be the hidden house of a witch? I'd never swallowed the legend of Beatrice, Witch of the Forest. What if Maria, she thought she stumbled across this thing in the woods, but actually she fell down into a deep hole somehow. Maybe, I don't know, she went unconscious. And when she awoke, she thought she was still walking through the forest. And then she found this thing underground. I don't know. Just an idea. Maybe somehow this is where Beatrice's mansion was? Sort of. However, after being shown this room, it had certainly become hard to doubt that she had actually existed. And had lived in this room. I mean, why else would such an underground room exist except for to possibly hold Beatrice? That kind of makes sense, right? Even though I was completely shocked by this room, I timidly searched the interior with my gun raised. And, in the center of the room, I found it. Oh! Perfect! Gold! Why are you scared of gold? My gasp came out strangely, as though a bunny was being choked. Because after finding something like this, no one would be able to stop that kind of stupid voice from leaking out. Good job, Eva, you found it. And I'm sure you're gonna be killed for finding it. On the opposite side of the canopy bed, it was piled up in a massive heap. It was a mountain of gold ingots. Of course, they weren't piled up carelessly in a way that would damage the dignity of this room. A beautiful scarlet satin weave was laid on the mountain of gold, creating a beautiful three-colored mix between the red, the gold, and the black of the deep darkness. It was as though when the witch slept on this bed, the gold would be a respectful chamberlain waiting on her. Nobly, refinedly, gracefully, beautifully. It was attentively piled there with an imposing air. When I tried to grab a single gold ingot, I was surprised at its weight. It was probably about 10 kilograms. Just this ingot would probably be worth more than 10 million. The Ushiramiya family crest, the one-winged eagle, was lightly imprinted on it. It was hard to tell whether it had worn away or whether the impression had been made carelessly in the first place. But it was certainly the crest of the one-winged eagle. Just how many ingots were piled up here? Just by going from one part to another randomly and judging by the height, there were surely more than several hundred. My mind is already blank, so I can't do a good calculation. Even a moderate guess would put it above several billion yen. Until you crash the market with all this gold and then it's worth nothing. Of course, that's why you trade it out quickly before everyone realizes that the market has crashed. I see where you get the evil laughter from. Okay, that's enough, Eva. In front of the mountain of gold, I spread my arms and looked up at the ceiling. A laugh without a trace of dignity flowed out of my entire body. Just like Kinzo. I had no intention of laughing in a weird way. But I couldn't hold back the happy feeling that flowed through my entire body. My older brother probably wouldn't accept his loss just because I had found this gold. But from now on, there would be no changing the fact that I had been the one to find the gold. To steal the headship of the family. I would still probably need some subtle tactics. But after everything I'd gone through until now, that's a completely trivial problem. Even if I lost out on the inheritance of the Ushirimiya family and everything, I already have 20 billion yen worth of gold. She's just going mad. She actually hasn't left the archive and is just cackling on the floor, having these wild imaginations going on. Oh, Eva, you're so funny. You know, it's good. It's good stuff.
私はやっとそんな当たり前を理解したわ。この世のすべての幸せはこの黄金を溶かすことで生み出すことができる。
Yeah, you just I feel like you've just set off every death flag in the book at this
この
point.
お金があれば夫の会社はもう大丈夫。私たち家族はずっと幸せ。そしてジョージにも莫大なお金を残してあげることができる。他の親戚たちなどやがては没落して消えるわ。その時ジョージはこの黄金を使ってまるでお父様がそうしたように復興させてみせるのよ。その時誰も異論を挟めないわ。
Fun voice acting session, I'm
ジ
sure.
ョージこそが後ろ宮家の本当の後継ぎなのよ。
Do this while yelling and slightly mad. It happened. My wish was granted. That dream I have wished for ever since I was born into this world as Ushirimiya Eva has been granted completely in this very moment. My husband and I will be happy for all eternity. And I can also give my only son, George, eternal happiness. There's no way I'll waste it on foolish pleasures. My older brother has chewed up the Ushirimiya family, but George and I will revive it. And that means I truly have succeeded the headship of the Ushirimiya family.
成し遂げたわ。やったわ。あなたジョージ私は母さんはついに成し遂げたわよ。
The way she flows from
もうこれで
normal
誰にも
conversation
脅かされない。
to just mad yelling is pretty interesting. And just noises, just these noises she's making. That's right. Shut up! Shut up! I'm talking. That's right, after this, never again will we be smothered by sad nights.
おめでとう、私。おめでとう、後ろ宮エヴァ。私たちの悲しい半生は、今ここに、すべての念願が叶って消化されたわ。
あなたのおかげよ。あなたの魔法があったからこのチャンスに恵まれた。このチャンスがあったから。
I must have blinked. I think I missed the magic at some point.
ありがとう。でも私の魔法は、私たちが互いに信じ合わなくちゃ叶えることができなかった。だから、私の魔法の力だけじゃない。私たちの勝利よ。だからこそ、おめでとう、私たち。
ありがとう。私ありがとう、後ろ宮エヴァ。今日までくじけなくてよかった。悲しみに溺れあがくことを忘れなくてよかった。いいえ、これは私の魔法。私たちの魔法。あなたの魔法は本物だったわ。森の魔女ベアトリーチェなんてすでに幻想。あなたこそが本当の魔法が使える本当の魔女。 あなたこそが今や黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェなのよ。
Once again, just mad, insane ramblings as she's rolling around on the floor. Eva decided to leave that place for the time being. When she climbed the stairs again trying to leave the secret place, she saw a creepy swaying human shadow blocking her path, and her dreamlike state was blown away. For an instant, she believed that the true master of this room, the real Beatrice, had appeared. It seemed that the other person was also holding a gun. The two of them were pointing guns at each other. And eventually, they realized who the other was.
Rosa. 姉さん。
Hey, how'd you figure that out?
こんなところで何をしているの？お互い様よ。あなたこそこんなところへ何のご用？姉さんにヒントをあげるんじゃないかわ。
Rosa, really? You knew too?
ここにたどり着いたのはきっと私が一番だった。
Though then again, I wouldn't imagine Eva would do a great job of covering her tracks.
残念よ。
So maybe everyone else could probably follow her hints and figure it out pretty quick. It seemed that Rosa knew where the staircase went, and what was waiting ahead of her.
言うわね。私より遅くたどり着いたくせに。鮎の皮に悩みすぎたわ。鮎なんて大した意味ないじゃない。
Interesting.
そんなことないわよ。立派なヒントだったじゃない。まあ確かに鮎である必要はなかったかも。でも鮎が海に出る魚だと聞いて私はそれで気づいたの。
So the important note isn't that it's sweet fish necessarily, but it's a fish that goes out into the sea.
この奥には何が？自分の目で確かめたらあなたの想像をきっと裏切らないわ。怯えないで姉さん。私はもともと当主が誰になるかなんて興味ない。後宮の席だって興味ないしね。本音を言うと自分が当主になるんだってずっと威張り散らしてたクラウス兄さんから姉さんがその座を奪うならかえって小気味がいいくらい。
You know, they're all talking all happy to each other, but I'm sure they've still got their guns pointed at each other, and this is an extremely tense situation.
もちろんよ。私は後宮兄弟のはぐれ者。仮に私が当主跡継ぎだとお父様に指名されたとしてもそれを兄さんたちが認めてくれるわけがない。そこまで甘い夢は見てないつもりよ。私にも見せてよ。姉さんの勝利の証を。私は兄弟で取り決めした正当な取り分さえもらえればむしろ姉さんがこのゲームの正当な勝利者だと積極的に認めるつもりよ。私を撃っちゃえばこの黄金はローザの独り占めになっちゃうわね。それは同じよ。姉さんが私を撃てばこの黄金は姉さんの独り占め。
Glad we're all such a happy family together. For a tense moment, the sisters pointed their guns at each other. Eventually, after they seized up the glint in each other's eyes, they lowered their guns. Eva removed her finger from the trigger and held the gun upside down. It was a position that she couldn't quickly shoot from. When she saw that, Rosa held hers the same way.
そう。相手を撃って黄金を独り占めにしようという提案はお互いにとって。でも台風で隔絶したこの島から突然失踪すれば絶対に大騒ぎになる。
You guys really don't even care about each other, do you? You just don't want to get in trouble.
ここに死体を隠せば簡単には見つからないだろうけどそれも絶対ではない。何百億円の黄金があろうとも 殺人の罪を犯すリスクには割が合わないわ。むしろそれを出しにされてクラウス兄さんたちに絞り取られるのがオチね。
同感よ。ここに現れたのが兄さんやルドルフであるくらいなら、あんたであったことは不幸中の幸いかもしれない。私は兄弟であんたを一番信用してるもの。
ありがとう。私も姉さんのこと兄弟で一番信用してるわよ。私も黄金が見たいわ。
見る？私ももう一度見たくなったわ。この目で見たにもかかわらず、まだ現実感が湧かないの。
Something feels weird about this bit right
あ
here.
なたと一緒に見て、確かに存在することをもう一度確かめないと、霧になって黄金が消えてしまいそうな気がするわ。
Something feels weird about that last statement there. Eva started descending the staircase once more. However, she didn't carelessly expose her back to Rosa. Even though at a glance it looked like Rosa had lowered her guard, she definitely didn't show any signs of carelessness. And they reached that room of the witch once again. Rosa also gasped, made speechless by the vast amount of gold. Oh, really? Oh, that's it. I thought something was gonna go down there. That's surprising. I thought something was gonna go down in this room. I guess it could still. Something still could go down, but that just seemed too tense for both of them to be walking out alive from. Let's just say that. Rosa and Eva walked absent-mindedly through the rose garden. They had left the guest house secretly, so they had to be careful when they returned. They had to regain their sense of tension soon.
おめでとう姉さん。
ありがとう。
姉さんが決めたのよね。後宮家当主跡継ぎの肩書きに5割って、ここで聞いてくるとはね。今やそれはクラウス兄さんのことではない。だから姉さんの取り分が5割とその4分の1で125億。すごい取り分じゃない。私は25億で満足よ。ルドルフ兄さんだって文句は言わないわ。文句を言うのはクラウス兄さんだけでしょうね。
そうね。何しろ六軒島の実質的管理者は兄さんだもの。そしてその敷地内に黄金があった以上、第一発見者が私でもうまくことを運ばないとややこしいことになりそうよ。
ならないわよ。そこまでをも想定して私たちは昨べ散々議論を尽くしたんじゃない。
果たしてそううまくいくかしらね。私はもうすっかり興奮は冷めてるわよ。ここからの調整の方がむしろ問題ね。
それは新しき後宮家当主の問題ね。姉さんが楽しむべき問題よ。
Rosa.
私には関係ないわ。
Rosa's still making me mad.
言うわね。
第二発見者として姉さんに協力するから、どうか例の前払い分、私の1億5000万だけは3月までにお願い。
いいわ。私に協力するならそれくらい気前よく払うわ。私は兄さんじゃないもの。
とりあえずは兄さんたちを驚かせましょう。実際の場所は伏せるにしても早くクラウス兄さんの驚く顔が見たいわ。
Rosa always seems so unassuming. And then you find out the dark truth.
ちょっと待ってよローザ。それをみんなに伝えるのはまだ待って。
どうして？
バカね。決まってるでしょ。 相手はあの尊大なクラウス兄さんにずる賢いルドルフなのよ。やがては発表するにしても今はまだ早いわ。どうやって話を進めるか慎重に検討してからじゃないと、せっかく見つけた黄金を全て兄さんにかすめ取られることもあり得るわよ。
Eva had tried to say it as though it was completely obvious. So when she saw Rose's expression suddenly cloud over, she was a little surprised.
何か不満なの？クラウス兄さんたちの性分はあんただってよく知っているでしょうが。
姉さん、それはルール違反よ。
何の話よ。
私たちは誰が黄金を見つけてもすぐに報告するというルールになっていたはずよ。それを渋ればルールの根底が崩れて後で何かの火種になるかもしれないわ。クラウス兄さんが狡猾であるならばあるほどに、そのルール違反は後でこじれるわ。
バカ言わないで。ここは兄さんの島なのよ。そしてさっきの黄金はキャッシュじゃない。10トンもの莫大な換金物の山なのよ。運び出して現金化するには相当の手間をかけるわ。そしてそれはこの島を実効支配している兄さんにあらゆる面で有利に働くわ。そんなこともわからないの？あんたは。
そういう腹の探り合い、私は好きじゃないの。もちろん姉さんが私に現金25億を今すぐ渡してくれるなら、あとは姉さんがどう交渉しようと勝手よ。でも私の取り分が手元に入るまでは、私は兄弟のルールを遵守するわ。
何を甘いことを。あんた、兄さんのずる賢さを何も分かってない。
It wasn't that Rosa didn't understand the craftiness of her older siblings. In that sense, Rosa more or less understood Eva's caution. But in her heart, she couldn't clear away her suspicion that Eva wanted to keep all of the gold to herself. What makes you think that? I personally think it has something to do with all those noises Eva was making. Because she knew that Eva was at least as crafty as her other siblings. In other words, Rosa wanted to put a stop to any chance Eva had to keep the gold all to herself, quickly informing the siblings of the gold's discovery.
ローザ、悪いけど今だけは私の言うことを聞きなさい。
言うことを聞かないと1億5000万は用意できないってこと？
そういう言い方をしているつもりはないわ。でもあなたが本当にそのお金を必要としているなら、私に協力した方が現実的よ。兄さんたちに話せばその当然の取り分すらもなくなってしまうかもしれない。それは嫌でしょう。
For a while, a severe expression that she had never shown to her sister before rose to Rosa's face. There wasn't even a trace of her restraint as a younger sister. There was just the ruthlessness. No, the seriousness of a single human arguing about a vast sum of wealth. Eva made light of it, chuckling.
やれやれ、物騒な殺人事件が起こったばかりで、こんなところで立ち話なんて、私たちもつくづく不用心ね。
That's what I was thinking. In fact, to go a little bit farther, I was thinking, what if one of them killed the other and then blamed it on the murderer, perhaps? They've got a little bit of a weak ground, but considering the fact that there is a murderer on the island, they might take it. They might take the idea. I don't know.
どうせ使用人たちの茶番でしょ。この島で殺人事件なんてもともと起こってないのよ。
Oh, really?
あら、やっぱりそう思うの
？6人の死亡状況ではっきり説明がつくわ。あの6人の密室は外部犯行では絶対に作れない。南條先生は全員死んでるって言ったけど、
Of course Dr. Nanjo's in on it.
全て お父様が仕組んだ手の込んだお芝居を。
Of course, it makes so much sense now.
死んだふりをしているだけよ。もともと殺人なんか起こってない。殺人犯なんかうろついてるわけがないのよ。
へえ、あんたがそれに気づくとは意外ね。割と怯えてるように見えたから、そこまでは気づいてないと思ったの。
Oh yeah, they're gonna die. They're dead.
私、そういう場の空気は読む方なの。おかげさまで鍛えられたから。
That's right. Come to think of it, now that the servants are dead, everyone on this island is a member of the Ushiramiya family. After Nanjo had reclaimed the debts of the servants, when the relatives had begun to discuss the riddle of the epitaph, he disappeared off to the second floor as though he was in the way.
すべて私たちに碑文に挑戦してもらおうというお芝居。だからこそ姉さんが勝利者であるという宣言が必要なの。あの焼死体が本当のお父様なわけがない。足の指の数が同じ死体を
Of course.
どこかで調達してわざわざ悪趣味に焼いてみせたのよ。きっとどこかに隠れて私たちがどう振る舞うかを監視してるわ。姉さんが黄金鏡に至ったこともきっとすでに知るところよ。だからこそ早く姉さんが勝利者であると宣言すべき。きっとお父様がどこからともなく現れて手を叩きながら姉さんこそが跡継ぎだと宣言してくれるわ。まあでも私は姉さんから1億5000万を無心しなくてはならない以上何も逆らうことなんかできないわね。
私の言うことを聞いて兄さんたちには黙っていると言っても、そこをはっきりさせなさい、ローザ。
私は話したいわ。ルールを定めたのはつい昨べよ。それを保護にすべきではないわ。
もちろん必ず兄弟の前で発表はするわ。でもその前によく状況を確認したいのよ。10トンの黄金の運び出し、そして換金、公平な分配、それを兄さんに出し抜かれずに行える裏付けが取れるまでしばらく考える時間が欲しい。それまで発表を待ちたいというだけの話よ。決して独り占めしたくて内緒にするわけじゃないの。
Of course not. Why would you possibly want to do that?
やがてはきっとみんなに発表するの。
もちろんよ。私だって早く兄さんの鼻を明かしてやりたいもの。
姉さんの言う考える時間というのはどの程度。
そんなの考えてみなくちゃわからないわ。
一晩あればそれは十分。
一晩ってそんなの約束できないわよ。
次期当主の姉さんに敬意を表して一晩は姉さんに協力するわ。今年の親族会議は台風が通り過ぎて船が迎えに来る明日の朝まで。そうね、海猫の鳴く頃にはお開きになる。
Name drop.
そこまでは私も黙ってることにする。それ以上の考える時間が必要だというのならその時に改め私は最大限汲み取って協力するわ。
I feel like that's gonna come up again.
あんた食えないわね。びっくりよ。それだけのたくましさがあったなんて。
女は子を持つと強くなるって本当ね。マリアを産んで私はそれを強く自覚したわ。
わかったわ。とりあえずはあんたの協力に感謝するわ。明日の話は明日すればいいことよ。
ええ、そうね。姉さんが黄金を独り占めにするなんて考えない。
I wouldn't even think about that. Of course not. We keep bringing that up constantly.
もちろんでしょ。ちゃんと黄金は兄弟で山分けするわよ。
嫌よ、これは私が見つけた。
Yeah, I figured that was gonna come up. We're gonna stop there for today. We'll continue here next time. I definitely felt like Eva was insisted on keeping all of the gold for herself. Because if you notice, there were things that she was saying whenever she found it. She was like, oh, look at all this, you know, what was that, 10 tons of gold? That's enough for, you know, for all my family and to give to George. She wasn't ever mentioning how she was going to split it and then the remainder would be enough for her family. No, she seemed very much like she was comparing the entire stack as enough for her family and for George. That definitely seems like she wasn't ever really contemplating splitting it in any real sense. Just my thoughts, though. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time for some more Umineko. We'll continue from here. Bye!